My name is Jasmina from Jasmina Astrology. And today I have two beautiful astro friends, Fernanda and Hannah, and we're going to go through some of the best and worst, maybe more challenging and more beneficial aspects for next year. I hope you can join us with some questions. If you have any questions, if you want to have a specific question maybe for yourself as well, because we can talk maybe more on a personal level, how these energies affect you. And first, let my guests introduce themselves. Fernanda, please introduce yourself.
Nice. Hi, Jasmina. Hi, Hannah. Hi, everyone, as well. It's great to be here. I'm Fernanda Paiva from Hitchhiking Stars, and I love astrology. Hi, I can see you misbehaving. My passion for astrology is like since my childhood, really, which I think is very common to all of us. And I have a certificate from the London School of Astrology. I've done the master's degree in cultural astronomy and astrology as well. And I just love astrology. It's like my passion, and I feel so lucky to have found it and to be able to do it as well. And I'm very excited to be here talking about astrology, which is my favorite topic. So yeah, this is it.
Amazing. Thank you. I know Fernanda is amazing. If whoever is not following her, please check her YouTube. Such great insights every week, and even in more depth, she has different topics as well there. So I always tune in to see what she has to say. And then we have Hannah. Hannah, say hi.
Hi, everyone. Wow, just Fernanda, from what you were sharing there, I think that's remarkable. Like the studying you've done and the qualifications you have, like that's mind blowing. Also, just I'm curious to know though, with your big three, like I'm so curious about your big three.
What? Yeah, sure. Mine?
Yeah,
sure. So I'm a Virgo sun with an ascendant in Scorpio and a moon in Libra. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What about you, Hannah? I'm curious.
Yes, so yeah, my big three, Aquarius sun, moon in Aries, and then I have a Virgo rising. But yes, so just to explain a little bit about me, astrology kind of found me back in 2016, and I've just been so passionate about it ever since. And I love making videos about it on YouTube, anything and everything about astrology. I'm just so curious about it, and I'm always willing to learn. And I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, thank you both ladies for taking your time. I know you have busy schedules to do this. This is so cool. My big three, for everybody who wants to know, I'm a Gemini moon and sun with Virgo rising. I'm a Mercurial girl for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why I always like to connect and with other astrologers and with people and chat and talk about astrology, which is also my passion. It's absolutely I think astrology found me when I was 11 or 12. It was my first Jupiter return, I think, when I first, and then I was just here and there. It was always in my life. And then I studied under Steve Judd recently. And I also enrolled London School of Astrology just because I like Frank Clifford. And then I'm doing Uranian astrology with Uranian Met. I want to learn that, at least two Gemini. Or three things at the same time as Gemini. Yeah. So
too much Mercury.
Yeah, too much. I need to put it into a good use. So that's what I say,
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start. Fernanda, maybe with you. Tell me, what is one of the best things that you are looking forward to see in 2024?
Nice. Okay, so definitely I think my favorite transit of 2024 that I'm really looking forward to is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Mm-hmm. So Jupiter and Uranus will meet in April. I think will be around the 20th, right?
Yes, April 20th.
Yeah. And it will be happening at 21 degrees Taurus. And this is I've done a talk for Rod Chang's school a couple of weeks ago. And my research was so exciting because everything I read about, all the other lectures that I watched about, all the other astrologers, what they had to say. And sure, it has shadows. Every aspect, every transit will have shadows. Mm-hmm. But it's so exciting. And that's definitely my favorite aspect, or my favorite transit I'm really looking forward. It's all about breakthroughs. It's all about moving ahead, setting sails, and finally having that breakthrough that we've been waiting for. I think that's the energy that I'm really excited about. Yeah,
it's interesting that day when this is going to happen. We're going to have moon in Virgo all day long, and just when this conjunction happens half an hour later is going to be in Libra. So we're going to have this conjunction in a Venus ruled sign, right? And Venus is going to rule the moon and the conjunction, and Venus is going to be in Aries at that time. That's interesting. So Hannah, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I really like that perspective, Fernanda, especially because, with last year, Jupiter moving into Taurus, it was in such a challenge, had such challenging aspects. And I feel like even throughout 2023, there has been a lot of challenges, not a bad thing necessarily. But I think what it's really brought up for many of us is the importance of patience and the importance of even working with what you've got, being really, really resourceful in this way. Jupiter and Taurus, I think, has been teaching us this. But even with Venus was retrograde in Leo, so that ruler of Taurus there, that Venus retrograde, I think, in Leo even brought up a lot of things to do with our self-expression and how it is that we really shine, and what, looking at our individuality in this respect, like what's our part, what's our role within it all. So 2023, I think, has been a great sort of preparation period, if you will. And then even mixed in with that, Pluto will re-enter Aquarius in January. So I think at the very beginning of Aquarius season. So Sun moves into Aquarius, Pluto's right there with it. So I think that will be an interesting transit, but even just again focus on Jupiter with Uranus there. I suppose Uranus is the ruler of one of the rulers of Aquarius. But yeah, I like that insight, the breakthroughs, and it's sort of like a finally, like, let's, like a push, like an awakening. You think about Uranus, it is the awakener, so perhaps many of us will be somewhat awakened or enlightened around that time. A bit of movement would be great.
Yeah, I love it, and I love that Venus is in Aries. She's pushing it. She's gonna. We have to use this and do something tangible and make it happen. Kind of a eureka moment, and use it in that sense. I love that. I know she's not comfortable in Aries, but still she wants to get things done. So I think she's going to push this energy, from Taurus being kind of, maybe slow, to actually, yes, let's do it. Let's use this energy in a more productive way. I just want to say hi to people who are here. Misbehaving and the Broken Crown, and Francisco Scherer, and Nidia. She says she has to go. She's very curious to hear from us, but she has the low battery. Go girls. Thank you so much.
Nice. Nice, Nidia. Yeah. Great to have you here. Yeah. Yeah.
Now that we talk about Jupiter, I know that next year Jupiter is moving to Gemini. So he's actually he's currently retrograde in Taurus, and then he's going to go direct just on the 30th of December at 5 degrees Taurus. And through the next year, he's going to come up to 21 degrees Gemini. So I think it's a good year for Geminis and mutable signs a little bit. What do you think? Who wants to start with that, with Jupiter? Hannah?
Yeah, I do agree. I think with the mutable signs, we're going to get that hit from Jupiter in that way. Jupiter, what I like about the shift of Jupiter as well into Gemini is its relationship with Pluto, the trine to Pluto, which I'm quite excited about that trine. What's been coming up for me quite a lot is this saying of get excited about a world of ideas. And I think what it's kind of highlighting is if we think about how Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years, well, by the end of 2024, because that little dip back in the Capricorn and everything. But if we think of it like that, maybe Jupiter in Gemini is kind of coming along and it's saying, this is a fresh start. This is a new beginning, a sort of new beginning to do with innovation, how it is that we chat, communicate, education as well is going to be a big part of this. We're noticing a lot with homeschooling, I think, is coming up quite a bit. It's becoming much more and more popular. But then just a bit, I think this could also look at, so if we think about how Saturn was in Aquarius from 2020 to 2023, there was a lockdowns and everything. So there was a lot of restriction when it came to grips and getting out. But I feel as if Pluto moving into Aquarius, following that same path, as well as Jupiter making that trine to Gemini, I feel as if many people, particularly throughout 2024, itching to kind of get out to, outdoor stuff, adventure, like get outside and connect with people. And I think that this is what Pluto in Aquarius is essentially ushering in. It's like find your tribe, find your group, find your people, which is what we're kind of, we're collaborating today and we're exchanging ideas. And this is the future. And it's just my opinion on it.
I love that. I love it. Fernanda, what do you think? What do you want to add? But before you say what you want to add, those beautiful insights, just wanted to say that Jupiter is going to trine Pluto on June 2nd. So for everybody who wants to know, it's going to be on June 2nd.
Nice.
Yeah, go Fernanda.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Hannah. And I think when I think about this trine between Jupiter and Pluto, I also think about a whole series of the more harmonious aspects that the outer planets will be doing in the next few years as well, when Saturn and Neptune moves to Aries and Uranus moves to Gemini as well. And we're going to have this sort of like, it's almost like things are going to accelerate, and potentially it will be a coming out of all of these crises from the pandemic and all the dark sides that we got to see with that triple conjunction in Capricorn, and all the things that we sort of witnessed. Perhaps there's like this sort of light at the end of the tunnel feeling with all of these transits between the outer planets. And again, I do believe that there are always going to be shadow sides to transits. I don't think it's only going to be one aspect of it, but I do feel optimistic about these transit and the trine between Jupiter and Pluto. And I do think Jupiter and Gemini will give that sort of incentive to explore ideas, to exchange ideas, like Hannah was saying as well, to get together, to socialize, to try new things. I think that's one of the things I see about Geminis is like, I want to try I want to have as many experiences as I can. Like my partner is a double Gemini as well. And this is like very classic him. Like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it and like if I want to do this more often, but I just want to at least once experience this. So I think there's this feeling of opening up to new experiences with Jupiter and Gemini. The sense of expansion.
I like that, especially I think with the local community. Gemini is about your local, and Pluto in Aquarius is a community. And I think we're going to connect more with people locally and do more things and just gather and experience, because people are still kind of hesitant to move from their houses. And I still feel that now I think many in 2023 a little bit open, but I think 2024 is going to be the first year after a long time that people will want to socialize, travel, get together, and this Jupiter is like a first, as you mentioned, from the first planet to open up that different vibe, different world, and then Pluto is going to come in Aquarius for a long time, and Uranus, as you said, Fernanda, and everybody else. But I think Jupiter is the first one to kind of knock on the door and says, look, this is what can happen, like, look at me, I'm here, big, shiny, and all these new things can come. And I'm also very excited about the future. There's always downsides, but I really am excited. Awesome, cool. What else is going to happen? And I think Jupiter is making some great aspects as well with Saturn. He's going to sextile Saturn at some point as well, right? Right. What do you guys think? Yeah,
in Taurus, isn't it?
Yes, before he moves to Gemini, he's going to do that beautiful sextile with Saturn. What do you guys think? How is that going to affect the world? Hannah, do you want to try say something? Or Fernanda, go ahead.
Fernanda, if you were... okay. I think, so Jupiter sextile Saturn. So Jupiter in Taurus sextile Saturn in Pisces. Okay, what has been coming up for me, and this is purely going from just ideals, to be honest with you. I kind of see this as being able to bring form to our imagination a lot better. Being able to even
Neptune, sorry, did I make a mistake? It's sextile Neptune, not Saturn. Did I make a mistake?
It is Saturn as well. In March, Jupiter will be sextile.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, sorry. I see. I had to. I know he's going to sextile Neptune before. This is all the things that he's going to do good, before he goes to Gemini. So sextiling both. Yes. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Hannah. Go. Talk about both.
Okay. But no, that's kind of how I see it. I think I think it'll be a good opportunity for us to kind of imagine or dream up the types of earnings we wish to make, perhaps, and actually doing something about it, or having the resources and the materials available to us to do it, especially when we go back again to the condition of Jupiter throughout 2023 and how, well, to be quite frank, how terrible it's been. But yeah, I think there could be some real progress there. And then also, I think there's a lot of what's coming through for me is creativity, and the focus on creativity, enjoyment, and actually, I think a potential lesson from Jupiter in Taurus especially is like, don't just focus on the outcome of something, like okay, once the product is done, or once I get that thing, then I'll be happy, then I'll feel good about myself. It's like, no. I think Jupiter and Taurus has been teaching us that the slowness of it, especially, it's like, appreciate each day, like try and appreciate what's in your life right now. How can you satisfy yourself in the present in this way? And I feel as if that Saturn aspect also looks at that, because Pisces is this energy that is about the flow. It's about the now. It's about the present, and especially with Jupiter then being the ruler of Pisces, like Jupiter in that sextile there. I think that really looks at that grounding energy, that I think not just basically talking the talk when it comes to this stuff, because you get a lot of those spiritual like gurus and all this stuff, and it's like, remain in the present, but it's like, well, how do you do that? Like, what, give me the practical ways in which to really do that and make it happen. So maybe this will be a good opportunity for many of us to actually get it, to have this deeper understanding, because Jupiter, in my view, it's also about understanding something rather than just speaking or talking about it. It's like actually doing something and understanding it and embodying it into your life as well.
Yeah, I feel that's going to give us opportunity to ground ourselves before all this air energy comes in. So, like in a more disciplined and, like give us some focus to ground ourselves. So when this air comes in, we know where we stand. Otherwise, we're going to flow off and we're gone. What do you think, Fernanda?
Yeah. Set some foundations, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. I also think a lot about values when I think about Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus as well. So these first few months of 2024, when we have these sextiles between Taurus and Pisces, to get very connected with our values and what we really value, and to work on our sense of self-worth as well. I think that's another supportive subject when we think about Jupiter in Taurus. Is like expanding our connection to our self-worth if we do the work, if we take on this invitation. I feel like transits are like invitations, and either we accept it and we go with, or not, especially Jupiter transits, because they're a little bit easier for us to navigate. A Pluto transit is not necessarily an invitation. It's definitely a convocation, and it drags you if you try to hide under the bed. But Jupiter is more of an invitation. It's like, hey, I've got this. Are you gonna come? And if you say no and stay home, nothing really is gonna come out of it. So. So these first few months is like we have this invitation to get more serious about our values, to really work with our values, to really have the list, and be very aware and clear about our core values, to make decisions, to then take a ride with that Jupiter and Gemini and do the courses that are really aligned with, or go after the tribes that are really aligned with our values as well. So I really feel there is a support in that, with that sextile with Saturn, and emotional maturity. That's one of the things I think about Saturn in water as well. It's like working on our emotions, working on our dependency or codependency, or, the Pisces is such a, being the last sign, and a kind of energy that merges and gets, loses boundaries. And Saturn being the planet of boundaries is a kind of a paradox in this transit. So I feel like there could be lessons there of like, how can we get together and understand the spiritual truth, but without losing ourselves, without losing sight of our values and our sense of self-worth, which I think is the challenge with a strong Piscean or a strong Neptunian energy. Is like, oh, I'll forgive. Oh, that's no problem. And so the sense of self-worth is getting hurt there in the in the situation as well. So I don't know, there is a support there in this sextile. Yeah,
I love that.
I like that. Go ahead, Hannah.
No, I just say I love the way you put that, Fernanda. It was very poetic. Yeah, I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it's about, usually Saturn and Jupiter don't go together. It's very hard to understand, this one wants to grow, this one doesn't want to grow, but then this is opportunity to actually grow in a structured
sustainable way. Yeah.
Right. So I like that.
Yeah.
It gives us. So then we have another one. So let's finish with this Jupiter in Taurus sextiling Neptune. This is a beautiful way to explore go in deep with ourselves within. Because it's still this earth, water energy, feminine energy before we go all into our heads. What do you guys think? Fernanda, do you want to try with that first?
Yeah, sure. I think there's definitely support for our imagination there. I think that Neptune in Pisces is definitely a lot about the potential of imagination. In fact, I saw Adam Ellenbass one video that he did about Neptune in Pisces, and I love the way he talked about it. And he said, yes, when you see a client coming and he's got Neptune doing something to their charts, it's like, oh, be careful with deceiving energies, or people, or what you see might not be what you get. But actually, what I really want to talk about with my client is don't miss out on the opportunity to use your imagination. That's what that Neptune transit is asking from you, is to really get in touch with your imagination, to re-inject inspiration in your life. So I think that the Jupiter sextile Neptune is kind of increasing that potential. It's saying, hey, you can actually do that in an earthy way as well, with the Taurian element there. And, maybe you can do pottery. Maybe you can, I always think about Taurus when I think about pottery, but like really use your imagination in a practical way, in a matter-of-fact way with that. Or, grow a garden or something that also has a spiritual, connotation. I don't know. Like, it's a great way to mix the two. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, Jupiter is higher knowledge and wisdom and learning, and this is more artistic. So you can, learn about maybe some artistic skill you want to learn. I think it's also a great opportunity for you specifically, if it's in somebody's chart, I would pursue that, something that you feel that it can connect with your intuition or your inner self. And as you said, imagination. I love that. Hi, Brianna. I just want to say hi. She's saying hi.
Hi, Brianna. Nice.
What do you see, Hannah, for Neptune and Jupiter?
Yeah, I really love that. It's just kind of like allow yourself to sort of indulge in the imagination and see, what could be from it, what could come from it. But I also just do, because what I found interesting from what you were saying there, Fernanda, was with our values, right? Our core values to do with Jupiter and Taurus, which I love. So what has been kind of springing in my mind from Jupiter making that sextile to Neptune is, it's like what's coming down for me is self-compassion and also compassion toward others, and how our values are linked to compassion and empathy and sort of like that emotional understanding, and maybe as well I feel as if what it's kind of saying is like no one's perfect. We all have our flaws and the things about ourselves that we tend to hide away or not want to present to other people. But maybe Jupiter here is kind of saying like look at the higher meaning here, look at the higher picture here, or the bigger picture here. Can you also come from a place of like showing good morals and showing good values and principles, and how even hypocritical are you? Because I feel like even Jupiter would kind of go into this sort of down the more negative sides of it, the whole preaching stuff. You can preach the word and you can preach to other people and condemn them for being a certain way and judge them for being a certain way, but maybe the sextile is kind of going, how about you kind of turn toward yourself, a bit of inner reflection, a bit of contemplation about, what am I bringing to the party? I feel like Neptune and Pisces have been so much about our own projections. What are we projecting on the other people? What's ours? What's other people's? And I feel as if even with Neptune first entering Pisces, I think it was from 2011 or so, And what's been coming up a lot, which is what I've just observed, is, something I've just observed is there's more communication, there's more talk about mental health and mental well-being. And, there's these words like, gaslighting, narcissism, the projection even within itself is a big, big word that's been coming up. But maybe quite possibly Jupiter sextile Neptune is also kind of saying, well, what's the meaning of these words? What's the actual meaning of the substance of these words? Don't just say the word because you just want to throw it at someone just because you watch a YouTube video about it one time. It's also like the context and the actual meaning behind it, the substance behind it. So, maybe this, I love that you said about support with that Taurus energy, Fernanda. So maybe this is that kind of part of it where it goes, right, supportive energy, ground yourself in it, and really like look within and really ask, maybe 2024 is a good opportunity for us to ask ourselves, what am I bringing to the party? Because the thing about it as well is like, Neptune's going to enter Aries, as you were saying, 2025, like Saturn's going to join that as well. So we are moving, we're shifting here to a whole new sort of world, so to speak. We're going from Pluto and Uranus and air signs. Sorry, my mistake. Let me go back. Pluto and Uranus and earth signs, Neptune and Saturn in water signs. And we're moving to Pluto and Uranus in air, and then Neptune and Saturn in fire. So the earth water combination, I think, up until that point is like, okay, really, this is a lot of like body work, sensory work, emotional work. And then whenever the planets do start to shift, it's like, right, there's more of that like the outward sort of energy. But I think really it's about having this sense of like containment for our own emotions. And there's a lot of healing in this as well,
I love what you said. I want to ask Fernanda, because I know she works a lot for astrology for highly sensitive people. So I think this is very important for them. So can you tell us more? What would you say for them? I know that you, as one of those, please. I always watch those videos. It's very important.
Sure. I definitely love this perspective as well of the elements and how they have this manifestation here as well. With this more introverted energy. So to really look within first and having this chance to look within and to do the house clean before all of these planets move into air. And I mean, regardless of being highly sensitive or not. So I just really wanted to acknowledge what you're saying, Hannah, because I think that's really important. And it's something that we will have a chance to do for the first few months there in special with that Jupiter as well. But in terms of the highly sensitive people, absolutely. I mean, like what did you mean, like, by the highly sensitives in relation to the Jupiter?
Neptune, yes, I think it's gonna regarding Neptune sextile. Yeah, so there may be, there's opportunity for them to use this energy well. That's what I thought. Maybe it's gonna be healing for them in that sense.
I see. Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think that could be a lot of forgiving and moving on there as well, and processing these emotions as well. I think there's definitely the potential with these energies. I always think about the highly sensitives as like this big antenna feeling all of these energies and also feeling the energies of the people around as well. It's like, I think with this heightened sense of sensitivity with the sextile there and the ability to process these emotions, there's also the need to be aware of how other people are responding to their emotions as well, and be a little protective with where you're gonna go, and where you're gonna present yourself, or where you're gonna be as well, because those energies would be so heightened there that you might be picking up on a lot of other things, which I think is that Neptune potential as well.
Yeah. Do you feel that Jupiter in Taurus will help with that, to kind
of... With the grounding?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it can potentially help with the grounding. But I also feel that, especially on what Hannah was saying, if a lot of people don't ask what they're bringing to the party, then, there is a sense of energies coming up. But basically what I'm trying to say here, it really depends how we direct these energies as well, isn't it? It's like it always comes down to how much responsibility we take for what's coming up here. It's like there are no miracles. Like these energy is more flowing, but it really depends on what we do with it or what other people will do with it as well. So
yeah,
I guess that's how I see that.
I like that. So we have a question from Brianna. Will Neptune catch up to the North Node or Chiron in Aries? Not next year for sure, but we have nodes switching to Pisces and Virgo in 2025. So I feel that beginning of 2025, they're going to meet at some point, I feel, but not before, because Neptune is going next year through 25 Pisces to 29 Pisces. So at the end of the year, it's going to do that an erratic degree. So it's going to be very potent. I feel Neptune in 12 months. Just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, Neptune, it will take so long as well to get to those degrees. Although, I see where you're asking there, Brianna. And it might be, in a few years, it won't be 2024. That will be a catching up. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel it's 2025, I think, when I don't know. Yeah, maybe later.
Yeah, you're right. I can see that. I'm looking here. It will be in 2025 when the North Node is in Pisces.
Yes. Then.
So, yeah, Neptune will catch up with the North Node, but it will be in Pisces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to finish up the Jupiter story, I just want to mention for everybody who is interested that Jupiter is going to go retrograde in October 9th. This is what I have. Station retrograde October 9th in Gemini, I feel. And that's it. It's going to go backward. So he's okay until October. And Pluto, okay. Let's not go too far from where I was standing. Okay. Let's finish the Jupiter story.
I want to say something before, because you're right, Brianna. The North Node will catch up with Chiron. And this is going to happen in February. Yeah, it will be North Node and Chiron at 16 degrees Aries. So that will be happening next year.
Neptune. Yeah. I was talking about Neptune only. Yeah, Chiron. You're right. Chiron, yes. Because Chiron is going direct soon. I think he's going direct soon. I think very soon. He's now in the middle of Aries. I think 15, 14 degrees as we speak. And then he's going to move forward. So he's there, coming up. That's interesting. Okay, what else would we say? So for Neptune and Saturn, are they going to meet at some point next year or not? Not yet.
No.
No.
I don't think next year. No, I think it will be 2025. Is it?
Yeah. The Saturn is going to go through 3 degrees Pisces to 19 degrees Pisces next year. So he's still in the middle of its grounds, the next year. So Saturn will be touching Uranus and Jupiter in the beginning of the year, right? We still have this Pisces Taurus energy, but what do you guys feel about that? So we talked about something about Uranus and Jupiter and Saturn, but what about Uranus and Saturn?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think as well, like the way that we're looking at the sextiles here, these are like the next steps of cycles, right? If we think about the Saturn-Uranus conjunction, that's a continuation of a Saturn-Uranus conjunction there. And again, in the water and earth sort of element here, isn't it? Is again like a more introspective energy there. Perhaps there is a support of creating a new structure within ourselves when we have a sextile between Saturn and Uranus, and the Pisces and the Taurus there. It's like the Saturn lending this potential for a structure, and Uranus wanting to break down these structures and bring that sense of awakening there. So maybe mixing the two in a sextile is like, okay, maybe we can find a way of compromise here. Maybe we can recreate a different sense of a structure here that will embrace a new sense of who I am as well.
I always think when I see Uranus and Saturn together, generation of 88, 89 has that together. So I have a lot of, people, clients and stuff to talk. I always think about those people. They're the people who bend the rules. They don't break them. It's like the elastics, they're the people who, I don't want to, I don't want to do it your way, but, I'm still going to do it my way, but in a way that it's like a win-win situation, you know, like it's a bending, it's like elastic, you know, they are not really a breakers in that sense, that, you know, because they still like that little bit of structure, but, you know, in a more, you know, what do you think, Hannah, about that combination?
So where my mind is going with this one is I apologize for not being prepared with my dates on this one. But
I just put it out there. So it was you're in a Saturn sextile.
Yeah, no, it's just so basically just prior to this year, basically so Saturn and Uranus were making a challenging square a couple of times. There were a couple of those squares. Was it throughout 2022, 2021? I can't remember the dates, but
okay. Yeah.
But just thinking of it from that perspective and sort of where we're coming from, you know, we had Saturn in Aquarius, and then those squares to Uranus and Taurus. You know, I think we were challenged in great ways with respect to, you know, our position regarding our finances, our resources, and, you know, all the questions, you know, about like, what is, you know, we think about the lockdowns and everything. What's the future going to bring? Like, what's going to happen? There was a lot of, I feel like, a lot of fear, right? And there was also a lot of uproar, and, you know, people getting really highly annoyed, stressed. It was just a very, very challenging time, I suppose, on a collective level. And I know that this is also supposed to be more about personal stuff as well. I know that, but so to think of it like where we're coming from, with Saturn then moving into Pisces and then making sextiles to Uranus, I think I feel like what's coming up for a lot of people, it goes back to Fernanda with the values, you know, our values and our worth, and the, you know, breaking away from, you know, certain systems or structures that just don't align with us spiritually and emotionally. It's just like so many people are just done. So many people are just done with the way things are. And we noticed this with Pluto entering Aquarius last year. Like it was crazy, you know, the riots, you know, in France, for example. Even there were riots in Ireland actually pretty recently. Society's feeling this, you know, it's like this pressure. You can feel the pressure, and a lot of people as well are just wanting to relocate. They're wanting to move. Just people's sense of direction, I think, are just changing so vastly and so rapidly. And I think people are willing to kind of reevaluate maybe what their values are, because it seems to be like, you know, they just want they want something that, I don't know how to explain it. I need to think for a wee second, because I want to articulate what I'm trying to say but better. Maybe people.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so no, so maybe the way I kind of see it is, it's like with people's materials and the resources, maybe they're wanting a change, right? There's some sort of change, or maybe people are willing to re-explore their values so that they can live maybe a more content lifestyle, a happier lifestyle, you know, where maybe that Saturn energy being in Pisces, it's actually saying that, you know, you actually don't need as much as you think you need, you know, even looking at like back to feelings of contentment, like you can see this. It's just like even on and maybe I'm going on a bit of a rant. I don't mean to. I really don't mean to. But you can see this where it's just sort of like, you know, buy the next best thing. Like I just think that many people, they want to realign with something that's real. Like what's real, what is meaningful to them. And it's not just about the superficial stuff. It's about, you know, what speaks to their soul, what speaks to their spiritual values, maybe in this way, and have a sense of like rebellion and you know, sticking the middle finger up to certain, you know, situations that just don't freaking serve them anymore, you know.
Vahela is saying people are restless right now, and I agree. It's like, you know, after lockdowns, as you said, and there was inflation and all these prices up and housing issues, and there's so many things that people are just now that's it. Like this, we had enough. And I think maybe all these sextiles, this and then this conjunction with Uranus and Jupiter will help us to figure out what we want to start a new cycle. I think that's what it's going to be like. We're going to find our values, as Fernanda was mentioning, finding, what is wrong with the system, and then find the opportunities and as a collective to see, and now starting a new cycle, with Pluto and everything. I think the conscious level, I think this is happening, although people are not very aware. This is happening, throughout the world, right? So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, not to forget the climate as well, which I think is a big one, and it will be a big one with Pluto. It would still be a big one with that Jupiter, Uranus as well. And this sense, perhaps, with the Saturn in Pisces and the Neptune in Pisces, reconnecting with a sense of a spiritual quest almost, because I think since we've been disconnecting from that and feeling that nature or the environment doesn't have a soul. It's like, so from communicating with the forest and the beings of the forest, because that's the way that we guide ourselves, or praying for the sea gods so we can, reach our destination, to being like, actually, there's no such thing as a god. Everything is based on science. And, so this world that's devoid of a soul is when everything became just a means to an end. It's like, the trees in the forest so we can get the wood and do this, and everything became you can buy, you can sell, like there's no, is a kind of is an asset rather than a live organism. So I think that Pisces and the spiritual side, when we think on a collective level, I think that's connected to survival. Basically, it's like we will have to go back to spiritual values in order to survive, because otherwise we won't survive as a
back to nature, Fernanda, as you mentioned. Like, we're gonna be learn to grow our own food. Just go back to basics. Finding. It's not everything is just one phone call away. You have to kind of get these skills to actually learn by yourself. I think,
and different urban planning as well. It's like, instead of getting loans, you get gardens and permaculture gardens where the plants kind of feed each other and invite the insects, which then is sustainability, I suppose, is the word. It really is the word. Connection with nature.
Exactly. Not with friendships. I mean, Pluto and Aquarius could bring up these questionable new shifts.
Tell us more. It's a good subject to start on. What about this Pluto in Aquarius finalizing the Capricornian, from September to November is going to finalize the Capricorn stuff, and then we have Pluto for the next 20 years. So kind of, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it kind of speaks to, we were saying about there are negatives to, or, the shadows of every sort of placement. And maybe there's some shadow here to do with technology, AI, and even thinking about this further, how disconnected then that makes us from nature, as you were saying there, Fernanda. And I think as well, a lot of questions to do with human rights. What I find really fascinating about this is, we think about social media. Realistically speaking, social media hasn't been here for long. It hasn't. It's just became so rapidly popular in such a short period of time. And I think because of that, there's this sense of like catch up. And what I mean by that is human rights. So the human rights related to the online world. So for instance, you think about, for example, vloggers who have babies, their birth is online, like they film the birth online, and their children are on the internet. The children, obviously, they don't have any say in being put on the internet, but of course then that it feeds into the human rights, who, of course, with a parent, they're the legal guardian, it's their choice in that regard. So I'm not shaming anyone for doing this, but what I'm trying to get to is questions to do with this, right? This is about the morality of these types of situations. And this is what I mean by catch up. There's just a lot of rapid change that has been happening on social media. And so where things sit regarding, humanity, I mean, Aquarius is about humanity essentially. And I think what's coming to my mind is like, do we want to live in it's like utopia versus dystopia. And maybe as well, what's going to come up a lot is like maybe normal is actually sexy. Like being normal and average is actually, it's going to become more and more in and cool. And instead of, trying to be the next best thing, or instead of trying to deliberately, come across as the most special, unique person in the world, it's just like, you know what, it's actually okay to be a part of a community, and it's actually okay to be connected with like-minded individuals, you know what I mean? But the last kind of thing I want to say with this is what I find interesting about. So I was looking a little bit into the last time, and maybe my figures are wrong. Correct me. I'm sorry if it's wrong, but last time Jupiter was making that trine to Pluto, was not by degree, but there was a trine. I'm pretty sure the Constitution Convention of 1787 was created. So this apparently was the first written constitutions in world's history. And I kind of think about writing, I think in that way, what, significant new change is going to be ushered in throughout 2024 to do with writing, to do with education, to do with maybe law, and maybe on that note, we even see this in 2023, just a lot of people with the rising up and the uproars and riots and revolution and rebellion and all this type of stuff. We may see a little, more of that push back.
A new democracy. I'm thinking a new way of governing the world, a new type that we don't even know of, right? It's not going to be democracy as we know it, because it's not democracy, to be honest, as we wish it is, right? So I like that. New world laws, new regulations, and with, I like that. Yeah. I like that. Fernanda, what do you have to say?
Yeah, it's a huge one, isn't it? Because Pluto, it really speaks about big non-negotiables. Like I was saying, Pluto doesn't invite you. It just drags you. Either you want to go or not. It just like drags you. So whatever you have in your chart that will be picked up by Pluto is your role in this transformation. Basically, like you will feel the urge to participate in this transformation of Pluto in Aquarius even more strongly. So I do feel definitely there's a lot of different themes around Pluto in Aquarius, and a lot of what you're saying, Hannah, for sure, and more. And it's always daunting to think about something so big. For me as a Virgo, I guess. but also, like, I was listening to you, and then I was thinking about the polarity between Leo and Aquarius, the whole idea of like being special or not being special, being part of a community or not. And I think a good way of thinking about Pluto, because it works with such a huge process, and it has to do with survival. Basically, that's the way that Lise Green defines Pluto, is the collective will to survive. So all of these changes and all of these darkness that might come up around what Aquarius is as well, because it's like, yes, Aquarius is about humanity and, being part of a community and whatnot. But it's like, Frank Clifford, I'm sure you've seen him do this joke as well. It's like Aquarians is all for the people, but they don't want to sit with him and have dinner with him, or, it's the whole like George, it's the whole George Orwell thing.
Like humanity, but not humans. Yes,
exactly. They love humanity, but they hate humans. So we think about the shadow side of it, and this is again Lise Green saying, whenever Pluto shifts into a sign, it will bring up everything that's stagnant into the pond of that sign. So what is stagnant, or what is the shadow of Aquarius? So we'll see a lot of polarities, So some rights are better than other rights. It's like my right is more important than your right, or, because I've been repressed in the past, or I've been suppressed or oppressed by people. So now you're the villain. And we're going to have all of these different things coming up as well. But
hi, Pernell. Sorry. Hi, Pernell.
Hi, Pernell.
I don't even like people.
Hello.
I like people.
I remember where I was going with this. So the idea, I think, with Pluto, because it's such a huge thing, is to embrace the polarity and try to walk in this tightrope. It's like work on your sense of uniqueness, but is having a healthy sense of uniqueness, so what you can bring to the table when it comes to sharing with the community. You know, it's the difference between belonging and fitting in. I love what Brené Brown says as well about that. Fitting in doesn't respect who you are as an individual. You have to chop bits off and pretend you're something else so you can fit in. Is the opposite of belonging. So belonging really respects who you are as an individual. And I think that's the kinds of communities that you want to see, is about diversity. And embracing, you know, the individuals.
Respecting each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Respecting
and the last thing.
Yeah, respecting the differences. Yeah, that's, you know, you're different and I respect you're different from mine different, and that's good. That's okay. You know?
Yeah, let's share and let's do something together. And I think the key thing, so amongst all of these different balloons of what's going to be possible, AI or China, or, you know, there's so many different things that I can think of connected to Pluto and Aquarius. I think being in touch with the heart, which is the polarity of Leo. It's like, if you have your heart in place, then you can think about humanity, you can think about human rights, and you can share and sit on the table with people and discuss these big ideas. But it's really important to have your heart in place, which is, you know, the polarity with the Leo, I think. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. I mean, Aquarius is a fixed sign after all. We're not to forget about that. So as you said, there's going to be, you know, if there's a polarity between rights, it's going to be very strong. People are going to, you know, my right, you know, they're going to be not going to budge. Yeah. But what I think about Pluto as well is, you know, something has to die to be rebuilt. So we have to literally bury something, you know, doesn't work for us in the society, the way we run things, the way we, you know, and to able to build a new thing on top of it. So holding on to the past, I think we're going to need to cut everything in that sense regarding the way we live, the society as we know it. Okay, that's what I feel like. You know, I think it's going to die to be rebuilt. But so in this process of dying, I think there's going to be a lot of negative things coming up before the positives come up. Yeah, because okay, Brianna has to say something as well. She says, might dispel any illusions on the good of the community and the issues in group dynamics, bullying, scapegoating, doing things for the greater good, or freedom suppressing individuality. We might see that as well.
That's the shadow of Aquarius, absolutely. So those are the things. I mean, why we're saying this, is that for us to be scared? Not really. It's for us to be aware and to be very conscious as we step. I think that's the good, or the you know, the most positives about astrology is to know. It's like being conscious of an energy really helps us to respond rather than just be swept, you know, by whatever is happening.
Frank Clifford says, if you know your transits, strategize. This is the good. He always says strategize. This is the whole point of knowing before, so we can strategize better to use those in the future. So I always think about strategy here. Awesome. Okay, Brianna I love Brianna. Thank you for your insights. And it might show the rigidity. Oh, that's what it is. I don't want to say it. That's how I don't like it. And power structures behind Aquarius in terms of Saturn rulership. Yes, that is true. I don't want to use that word. Thank you very much. I do have my stellium in the 9th house, so no, not that. Awesome. So, I don't know, and Hannah, did I ask you what is the best part for you in 2024? I never asked you that at the end. I started with Fernanda. I forgot to ask you. I'm so sorry.
Of course.
What are you looking for in 2024?
What am I looking for too? Do you know, I actually am looking forward to these eclipses opening in Pisces. You know, there's going to be that lunar eclipse in Pisces in September. I believe it's September time. So there's something that's being ushered in here. You know, I feel like this is like kind of like the real preparation period before you know, with Saturn and Neptune both reaching Aries throughout 2025 as well, because the nodes will then shift. So the North Node will shift into Pisces by 2025. 2025.
I can I can share the lunar eclipse in September chart if you wish. The one from September.
Yeah.
Pisces eclipse. Someone is
Yes.
asking what degree.
20.
Pisces eclipse 1 degree. 25 degrees and 40 minutes. There it is.
Right on my Venus.
So,
right on.
Well, but Neptune is there, so that could be very, inspiring, Fernanda. Very, yeah. So this is the one from September. Okay, go on, Hannah. Sorry, this is a chart. I have this from previous live.
Yeah, so I just think with the eclipses going to start in Pisces, I feel like this is a good opportunity, for us to do a lot of like releasing. That's sort of what I'm getting is like a lot of cleansing, this like emotional cleansing energy, this very healing energy, and also a really great opportunity to, because Neptune is still there and it's conjunct
28, 28
degrees. So even with Saturn being there as well, I know Saturn is quite far away. It's not like super close in that way, but I feel like that will be a really good, significant time to, to visualize, dream, looking at our imagination in this respect. But then again, maybe with the square to the moon there as well in Neptune, there will be those squares. So the square between Jupiter and Neptune throughout 2024 too, or is it Saturn? Sorry.
So Jupiter is in between. He's going to be in between. So he's actually squaring the moon 5 degrees. This eclipse. So he's ruling this eclipse as an old traditional ruler, and then Neptune is a modern ruler is also there, conjuncting this eclipse. So we have both rulers making aspects to this eclipse, and Saturn is opposing Mercury.
Mercury as well. Okay, thank you, Jasmina. So yeah, I think in that way, maybe what's going to come up is like it's this whole so thoughts versus feelings, or maybe being a little bit like confused about am I actually is this something that's real for me, or is this true for me, or is there something about us having to go within and reflect upon, okay, how is it that I'm coming across? What is the understanding or the misunderstanding within this discussion right now? And maybe there is something about communication really strongly with Jupiter there in Gemini, actually, as we do start to approach more of this North Node and Pisces energy toward 2025, and with the new paradigm sort of coming in, it's like, what is being communicated? And where are there misunderstandings regarding other people, and how can we, maybe it goes back to like, we were saying about respecting other people's opinions and their views, etc. Maybe this also will point toward a lot of this, but it is actually about, you need to open yourself to these things as well, and seeing, where are your defenses. To me, what's kind of coming down is like an ego death, or like a crack, your heart is being cracked open, or like, it's like, how can you invite something inspirational and something quite intuitive in? And, there could be intuition blockages as well in this respect for many of us. So yeah, I just think that this could be the start of something really quite pure, and really quite innocent, and really quite loving and compassionate, if we allow it to be.
Yeah, and then there's a Pluto, and again in Capricorn, trining Uranus for the last time in our conscious lives that we're going to live. This is going to be the last time in Earth signs that Pluto is going to trine Uranus for this eclipse as well. So there's also like a revelation, like a breakthrough. It can be something, that will change the future forever. Fernanda, what are your thoughts about this eclipse?
I think there is a sense of evolution there as well, isn't it? Whenever I see outer planets involved very strongly in an eclipse chart like this, I do have a feeling of a potential window to evolution, like a big step that we can take with this energy. Again, if we choose to use it, if we go with it, if we like hide under the bed, we might feel a bit bad, a bit confused, whatnot, but we don't take necessarily those steps. But I feel that the energy is there as a blueprint. We can take steps towards evolution. Moon is conjoined Neptune, Uranus is trine and sextile, the sun and the moon. So there are like a few interesting aspects to these outer planets there. So I really feel that. And yes, I mean, when I think about T-square as well, like that Jupiter could be a way out as well, in a way. Like that's the way I usually read T-squares, when we have oppositions and one planet forming a square. So Jupiter in Gemini could bring a solution to that as well, to that sort of, oh, should I be analytical and rational, or should I go full power into the imagination and escape and, transcend full power? I think Jupiter in Gemini gives us a... Well, you're going to say something, Jasmina?
Yeah, I was going to say we get lost in details. I mean, with Virgo Sun and then Jupiter and Gemini, we might lost the big picture, where are we actually going, and get flustered in the little, if we want evolution, Fernanda, and I really want evolution for us, we need to get out there and see the big picture. And I feel this might not be yet that, just because we're going to get lost in details. That's kind of my first
I think the Jupiter in Gemini, perhaps the advice of that Jupiter in Gemini is, search for different kinds of information, search for different sources, don't be prejudiced, and open up to other ways of finding information as well. Because I think that's one of the things about Gemini, isn't it? If we get Jupiter is about the bigger picture, Gemini is about being open to, different ways of seeing, different informations, different learnings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the advice with that Jupiter. Yeah.
I don't want to scare you, but I think we're losing you again, Fernanda. Something is wrong with your transmission.
No.
I don't want to scare you.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I know. So Francisco is saying, Crystal Heart, MC Crown, we all got our trust. Trust must be defining camp table energy, encourage society. And what is this? What is this? Marriage possible. Okay, I don't know who those people are. Some marriage, possible marriage. Okay. Hannah, do you want to look at others? Fernanda, do you guys want to look at other eclipses? I have other charts.
Can I just can I add something else to this one, if that's okay?
Yes.
So what is also coming to mind is, okay, so if we think about how the North Node will move into Pisces, this essentially means that the South Node will also be in Virgo. So with that eclipse happening in Pisces, and then with the Sun being in Virgo opposite, maybe this is also an opening of sorts when it comes to the types of significant changes that we want to make regarding things like, I don't know, self-criticism. You think about the thing that I find with Virgo quite a bit is, like, because Virgo can be so analytical and in the mind, it can really overthink and overanalyze and overcomplicate things. Just speaking even from experience, I just want to say this with my Virgo rising, I can overcomplicate things that just whenever if it can be so much more simpler, but then again at the same time there is this amazing ability for Virgos to be able to simplify things, but in order to get it, there can be like a freak out or like a panic. Virgo can go into this panicky mode, this stressful mode, so maybe this is also about South Node being in Virgo, but before that kind of starts to unfold throughout 2025, this eclipse is kind of like ushering in this moment of maybe clarity, maybe as well, speaking back to what you were saying there, Fernanda, with Jupiter and Gemini too. It's almost like saying, what's the evidence? Like, what's the evidence for example, what you're overthinking, what you're overcomplicating? How about you just leave it be? Maybe you can just do, how about this, Virgo, do less. How about you do less and actually see that there's so much potential, there's so much opportunity that surrounds you, Virgo, and often it's in the mind. Like, I would be very, very critical of myself in that way, but maybe this is also an eclipse where it's like, maybe the Pisces energy is kind of saying, step back, relax, rest. And the South Node again being in Virgo, it's a little bit of like, just try and move toward that North Node a little bit and ease into the path of least resistance.
Yeah, I love that. And I think as well, when I think about this polarity, can you guys hear me well? Because I'm like paranoid now that my connection isn't good. Yes. Okay, good. So what I think about this polarity with the Saturn in Pisces and the Mercury in Virgo there in this chart as well is like there are other ways of finding information. There are other ways of grasping something, receiving, have you ever experienced a dream that foretells you something? A hunch, a gut feeling, and it's like those are like ways that we can grasp reality, that we can understand something, that we can, like, I've experimented for the first time. I'm very proud as a Virgo. For the first time, I wrote a guided imagery for a workshop I did about Chiron. So it's all about getting to meet Chiron from a different way, using your imagination as a tool to grasp an archetype rather than just lecturing it and analyzing it and bringing quotes. So I think that's an example of using these energies. Like, hey, there is value in the imagination, and it can really tell you a lot of things, and the unconscious as well. And
I love it. Yeah, for me, being so logical, thank you for bringing that up. You open up my mind as well, because sometimes you forget that there's more than just a mind and rationality in our world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have if you want to see the solar, which one is that? Which one do you want to talk about now? March? No, this is the wrong chart. This is the this is the lunar eclipse in March. Yeah. This is the lunar eclipse in March. So this is the first one of the year. This one is happening at 5 degrees, 7 minutes, Aries, Libra axis. So, yeah. What do we have here? Also Neptune. We still have Neptune there, although it's out of sign, but it's still near. But this one is much easier, I feel. I don't know. This one looks good. What do you guys think about this one? There's like there's a cluster. There's like everything is in Pisces and Aries. Like all the planets are down there. So the moon is on its own, but it's just the south node, but it's on its own on the other side. So like a bucket shape eclipse. Everything is around sun. Everything is happening, around sun, and moon is on its own. I don't find this very difficult.
Yeah, it's just before the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction as well, isn't it? It's like a 5 degree there. And then again, the moon and the Jupiter-Uranus are all ruled by that Venus. And we've got Venus in Pisces near that Saturn as well. So there's something about that Venus-Saturn in Pisces that can give us clues about these eclipses as well. If I think about the eclipse with the South Node, the South Node and some of the shadows of Libra that we're potentially leaving behind, people pleasing, fawning, not giving a real opinion about something, doing things because you're on automatic pilot. You say yes, you want to do, you want to help. That's extremely relevant for highly sensitives here, and just not wanting to disappoint people and responding to things on this sort of automatic pilot. And so I think that Venus is in Pisces. It's like, yes, we can be compassionate, but it's conjoined Saturn. I was like, yes, we can be compassionate, but we got to have boundaries as well, and we have to have a container for all of this. And I don't know, and it's almost like a preparation for what's going to come with that Jupiter-Uranus as well. Like, it's like, if you want to have a breakthrough, if you want to set sail with that energy, you're going to have to learn how to have boundaries as well, how to have a container.
Yeah. Hannah, what do you think, Hannah?
I feel like, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with it, Fernanda. Yeah.
I mean, it's trining. So moon is trining Pluto, and this that's a good one. I like it. Chiron is near North Node. That can be a little bit of facing, and we need to kind of heal ourselves and do this all the preparation we were talking about before this air fire energy comes in the next couple of years. We need to finish, tuning in with that, I feel.
Maybe even just to speak to, so I kind of again sort of thinking about the approach to the eclipse itself. So if we think about how there would have been that North Node Chiron 16-degree conjunction in February, and then also the Mercury retrograde, you know, Mercury is going to be retrograde in fire signs throughout 2024.
Yeah.
So that Mercury retrograde in Aries will have just have happened at this point, or is it about to happen?
It's coming in April.
It's coming. Okay.
April 4th, I think. I just did a post about it. I think April 4th to April 24th is going to be retrograde, but it's in a shadow already.
Yeah. Okay. So perhaps this eclipse, you know, speaks a bit to these independence wounds, these self-assertion wounds, and maybe this is a part of why, you know, it's so important to be able to, as you were rightfully saying there, Fernanda, about, you know, with our being able to have some type of boundaries as well, you know, while still practicing compassion and empathy. And I think as well, at the same time, maybe what this is pointing towards is like, it's okay to forgive someone without letting them back in your life. You know, we can, you know, just because you forgive someone doesn't mean that you should just let them walk through the door and, you know, have them back in your life in that way. And maybe that Aries energy is kind of even saying there's a lot of like self-doubts that you've been addressing, a lot of insecurities that perhaps have been coming up when it comes to how it is that you do assert yourself. And even looking at our identity, I think that identity is a big part of that conjunction. Maybe we'll talk more about the conjunction in a bit, but just coming away from it, maybe the lunar eclipse in Libra will point toward a bit being able to restore some balance. You know, I think even with the South Node can also look at our gifts, our talents in some respects. And it's really looking at that nice kind of that balance between us and others, and that's been coming up a lot. Well, for me anyway, it's I've been kind of experiencing in my life, because just kind of going off this a little bit.
Go ahead, please.
So basically, when it comes to the whole thing of like you know, being setting boundaries between us and others, what's been coming up a lot is like this whole thing of it not being so black and white, and I've been learning in my own life that it maybe not necessarily about like cutting someone off completely. It's like, what kind of relationship can you have with someone based on the experiences that you have with them, you know, based on what you're willing to kind of accept and not accept. And maybe it's not necessarily about just going to an extreme of like, no, don't want them in my life, don't want to be a part of it anymore. But where's the maturity in yeah, well, you know, we can relate in these ways, and you know, I like this about them, but you know what, I don't like this about them. I think maybe this axis with the nodes, especially looking at like mature love versus immature love. What's been coming up for me and what I've been learning a lot in therapy is like immature love is whenever you have this very black and white way of like, I want them, but I don't want them. I love, hate kind of thing. But mature love is like, no, like you know, I still love them, but there's certain things I just don't like about them. And maybe it's being able to be honest with ourselves about like, I don't really like that about them, but I still accept them and I still appreciate that, you know, that's the way they are. And of course there's nuance to that, but just quite perhaps this eclipse will usher in some type of emotional maturity and understanding such concepts.
Yeah, well, from my experience, how to deal with those is usually, you know, everything I do from my heart and I receive from my heart. If, you know, any other, you know, if there's attachment to it from other people's, or, you know, you can, it's theirs, you know, their thing. So learning to give without expectation and receiving without, you know, feeling that you need to give back is the lesson that I cherish the most in my life, just because it's very important. You know, everything I receive and give is from my heart. That's it. No strings attached, both sides. Otherwise, I think this Chiron, you know, North Node is maybe very also, we can go in that direction. I feel that's very, because there's always, you know, especially with families and stuff, you know, there's always, you know, how much we give, how much we receive, and friendships, partnerships, everything, all these intimate connections, you always on a scale somehow. There's no scale. There's no, this is not, we are not in a grocery store, you know.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's something that, you know, my from my life experience, because I was like, you know, because all this stuff gives you guilt, guilty conscience, all this shame, all these emotions that are putting you in the lower vibrations. Everything is, all this is putting you in, you're not going where you need to be. So you know, only with pure heart, both sides. So you also, it's for some people, it's hard to receive, feel guilty or not knowing how to accept compliment. No, you think I'm beautiful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, don't think about it. If they're lying, who cares? You receive it, if it's the truth from your heart, receive it with your heart and forget about it. Because otherwise, I learned it the hard way. Anyway, a piece of my wisdom from my life.
Can I even just add a little bit to that, Jasmina? I love the way you said that, and just even further from that, like even people if they maybe don't want to receive because they feel like they have to give something in return, if you know what I mean. So maybe there's a bit of resistance there, and I love the way you put that. It's so true.
As Fernanda was saying, with all this Pluto in Aquarius, we have to go back to Leo and heart. So go back to that. Receiving, and even in community, everything with this Pluto and Aquarius, we have to still, everything we do from our heart, but truly give and receive without anything attached to it. We're on a good way, I feel. I mean, it's hard. It's easier said than done. Don't get me. It's not like a overnighter. Oh, yeah. Joe is here. He goes, Jupiter Gemini. Joe, we talked about it already, but he's another Gemini. Very enthusiastic Gemini. Nice to have you here, Joe. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Do you want to go to the famous this one, solar eclipse on April 8th? This one is a biggie. Right? It's gonna be seen in all the US. It's gonna go over. Oh, it's going to go where I live. So let's see. Maybe I'll see the eclipse. Anyway, so this one is the big one. Look at that Aries energy.
Yeah, it's massive.
This one is just before the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. This one is on April 8th.
Yeah, and it's a triple conjunction. It's the Sun, Moon, and Chiron, all at 19 degrees Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think this is like a big, because I feel sometimes with these kinds of chart, it's almost like the universe is sending extra electricity on the earth or something. It's like, so we actually take more steps, It's like you're playing a video game and you receive that, I don't know, that sort of extra something that you drink the magic potion or something and it makes you run faster. Like it feels a little bit like that, even though we have Chiron there, which could be, touching like our primal wounds and whatnot. I still feel that there is benefit to it, of integrating it, of moving ahead, of, stepping forward and again, taking a ride with that Jupiter Uranus, and like making the way, going with it, like having the courage. It's like Aries is about courage, isn't it? It's like, go. And
I'm thinking, Fernanda, look at that. All the planets are between 13 of Pisces until 21 of Taurus. In the 60 degrees, 65 degrees, just Pluto is down there. But all the other planetary energy is packed up in 1/6 of a chart. Like it's going to be...
That's big.
Bombastic energy,
Yeah, definitely is. Find where that is in your chart. That's another thing. It's like what areas, where you're receiving this magic potion or whatever, to make you go faster, to accelerate your process. But I think what you were saying, Jasmina, before really has something to do with this whole thing, because you were describing some of the big lessons of that South-noding Libra. It's like learn how to stop keeping tabs of like, I've given this, I've received this, like, the fairness or this or that. It's like, just go with that energy, just learn, to be more confident with that. And if you decide to give, just give, it's a decision that you've made, stick to that decision and go for it. I think it's healing that sense of individuality as well, stop trying to get that validation from other people as well, like, what do you think? And, just go for it. Have the courage. What are your dreams? This is so relevant to just before that Jupiter Uranus. It's like, what are your dreams? What area have you been trying to get a breakthrough? Have you been trying to achieve something that's, taking a while? This is the time that you can really go for it. And I think one last thing, so I don't want to dominate the conversation, but like one last thing with this as well is like, where do you feel you have that, imposter syndrome? and the lack of confidence, and they're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't think I'm going to be good enough. I don't think I can do this. I don't, this is the eclipse to kind of heal this, just sort of like, okay, I'm going to deal with it and go for it. Yeah.
It's pushing to go. It's pushing us to go towards the North Node in Aries. This is exactly to be. What concerns me is that Saturn and Mars are conjunct in. So that's I have that conjunction in my natal chart. It can be hard just because Mars wants to go and Saturn wants to block you. So that I might feel like going to be maybe a challenge because you have that willingness because that Mars is going to rule all of this. And it's in Pisces, and it's it doesn't have boundaries. And then there's this. Anyway, this is going to be interesting for our personally, for everybody, and globally. Very, very, very interesting day. Hannah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And even with the all those cardinal signs, definitely look at your chart in that way. Yeah, I really like that idea, Fernanda, what you're saying about with Chiron being a part of this. So I think it's just really fascinating with the sun, moon, and Chiron. 19 degrees, all of them. Yeah.
1924.
Yeah. So, it really is like that push, and like believe in yourself. Do you have the confidence? Drive forward. And maybe as well, it's looking at where we can be very doubtful of our own capabilities and of our potential. But this is this powerful solar eclipse where it is ushering in a significant change, a significant shift for many of us. And I'd be interested to kind of see, how things really unfold for people over the next 6 months after it, year later after it, and especially with Neptune and Saturn, going to move into Aries in 2025 for a little bit, and then fully by 2026. Maybe this is kind of like the planting the new seeds, planting new seeds to do with our goals, to do with our identity, to do with our independence, and going for what we really want, but then again, Mercury retrograde is still there as well, part of it. So maybe that Mercury retrograde is still, it's like reflection, all right, the whole usual stuff with retrogrades. Go inward, reconsider what your goals are, or reconsider your energy levels. Maybe there is a little bit of contemplation to do with our own inner world and our own sort of feelings of inadequacy, but also being able to identify, whenever we project our own feelings of inadequacy onto other people in this respect, maybe we think about the Mars energy being the dispositor of all of that Aries energy, like Saturn and Pisces, Saturn and Pisces and Mars in Pisces. Maybe that is kind of saying, okay, it's time to get real here. It's time to really own what is mine, and to also just perform more of that inner that introspection in this respect. Maybe journaling could be really useful for many people. Maybe the whole thing with Pisces energy, right? The whole usual thing of meditation and your spiritual practices, whatever your spiritual practices are. Your spiritual practices could just be doing some gardening or cooking or whatever you do, just whatever provides you with a sense of inner peace and inner calm. Maybe it is about also being able to focus more on your own inner world in this way around the solar eclipse.
Brianna is asking, take responsibility. Should we take more responsibility with this?
Yeah,
I feel that. Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
I'm just thinking. No, it's okay. Hannah, where do you have your moon? What degree in Aries?
15 degrees.
Wow.
That's right. So this is
North right there.
Yeah. So this is going to be huge for you. And I'm thinking, I have Gemini Sun 14 degrees. So that's this Mars and Saturn is right on my Sun. Anyway, take the day off, everybody. Just that day, nobody works, nobody does anything. Just leave it to yourself. General advice. Yeah, Fernanda, is it touching any of your planets in your chart?
Yeah, my moon is 15 Libra. So
there you go.
Yeah, our moons are directly opposite each other. That's so cool.
I love it. This is your eclipse. Just vice versa. Look at that. I'm saying this is a biggie. This is a big one. I'm looking forward to it, to see what will bring. As you said, Hannah, afterwards, what will be the aftermath of this? Of this.
Not to forget that's a new moon, isn't it? It's a planting of a seed. We don't really, although there's like multiple planets in Aries there, it doesn't mean that we need to go out and do something. We're planting seeds, but in a quieter way. And that Mars Saturn in Pisces, like Hannah was saying, is perhaps showing a more introspective way to deal with this energy first. It's like go inwards first and really work with this intense charge of energy that we're going to receive. And like, how would you like that to manifest, isn't it? Like, imagine, how would you like that to go? Imagine if, whatever it is that you're thinking is a problem wasn't a problem. Like, how would you proceed? Do some, imagery work with that Pisces.
Yeah, look at that. Brianna says, I have a Sun in Aries, 18 degrees in Chiron 20. So I'm there with you.
Eclipse, absolutely. And your Chiron return as well. Yeah, that's a big time. Really big time. Yeah. Wow.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we only have one more solar eclipse, and this is the one, October 2nd. This is the last one. Look at that. The spring one has all these Aries, and look at this one in October. Look at all this this Libra energy. It's but it's not that one was really. This one is not. It's gonna be and 10 degrees Libra, with Mercury is there and Black Moon Lilith is there. What else is happening here?
Venus in Scorpio. It's a great trine, isn't it? Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces.
Yes.
That's a very interesting energy. Yeah. Both rulers of the South and the North node will be part of this grand trine. Grand trine in water, especially involving Saturn like this, is emotional maturity. Is like the big thing. Is like emotional maturity. Is a lot of what Hannah has been saying throughout this live that we're doing about reclaiming what's yours, thinking about what you're bringing to the table, what you bring into the party, and I think this one is about emotions, emotionally. What are your, what's your influence emotionally, and what's yours, what's not? Where is your responsibility in the situation? Yeah. And healing, isn't it? I don't know.
This big trine, Fernanda was saying, it also gives us opportunity to kind of emotion, to have this emotional intelligence, to find, our emotional intelligence in some ways that maybe we are lacking. Hannah, what are your thoughts?
I agree. Very much so. And then, I think that Lilith being a part of it, I think I'm a bit curious about Lilith because they're all the same degree. So Lilith is very much a part of this story, very much a part of this kind of eclipse story. So maybe with that in mind, there could be a few shadows coming up. Maybe a bit of this is like really looking at where we feel a lot of rage, or where we feel a lot of like buried emotion regarding fairness, equality, negotiation, cooperation, relationships, this type of stuff. But then there's also a sense of liberation with Lilith, I feel, how we can liberate ourselves. But again, this again goes back to like, with planting seeds and setting new intentions during the solar eclipse as well. With that being said, maybe there is a sense of like, this is what we want to free ourselves from. This is a certain pattern that I want to break, a certain cycle that I want to break when it comes to how I act within relationships, but also when it comes to what I tolerate within my relationships. And maybe even Venus being the dispositor of all that Libra energy is also a part of this story, looking at transformation in this respect. But then the Mars, the square to Mars in Cancer, could be some sort of passive aggressiveness that could come up, maybe some avoidance, like tiptoeing around a situation. It's like, what are we? What are the values within this relationship? What do we want from this relationship? Are we willing to talk about this thing? Is it too emotionally challenging? But then circling it back to what you were saying there, Fernanda, maybe this is also where the emotional maturity needs to come in. It's like, no, if we really want to be able to move forward here as a couple, as a business partnership, as a friendship, whatever, it's like, no, we need to address this stuff maturely, and to see, what progress can be made. And you know what, maybe it's also about saying there's certain relationships that just you can't continue, they're dead, that's it. It's just,
but there's when you mentioned Hannah, there's a great potential for long-term stable relationship because there's support of Saturn there, right? Because Mars and Venus are in a good condition here between themselves, and Saturn is kind of helping. I feel that and it's a new moon, right? So it is a new seed that maybe for long-term, and maybe a sense of like a feminism. Maybe there's a feminine power, like on a global level. Maybe we're going to see a lot of the females getting power here, because there's Venus is in a good position, and I don't know, all this energy. I feel that maybe we're going to see that as well. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I like
awesome.
what you were saying there as well, Hannah. And I was thinking that square to Mars in Cancer is like, and the North Node in Aries as well. It's like the challenges and the Lilith involved. It's like the challenge of being direct with what you want. You know how like Librans can be very seductive when they want something? It's like, I'll make you believe that that's what you want, and then we'll go and do it.
Yes.
So I think this is the challenge. It's like, speak up, say what you want, stop circling around and trying to be liked. But
this is what I feel with this whole North Node, South Node in Libra and Aries. It's a topic for the whole this year and a half, and this is like a culmination of it. I just feel this is like this is now or never. You had your chance for a year and a half to work on it. Now do it. That's it, right?
Absolutely. That's it.
Brianna says we can only hope like Pandora. Yes. Curiosity killed the cat as well, they said. So I don't know. Okay, let's stop sharing. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics today. I'm so thankful. I will let you have your final words about hopes for 2024. So your final hopes and words. Fernanda, what are your final ones?
Okay, so what would be my final words? My final words will, I'll insist, guys, make the most of that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Use it. Find out what house that conjunction is, what aspects is doing to your chart. Weave into your natal chart so you can really give more of a narrative and understand, and just use this energy, because you can have amazing breakthroughs if you navigate with this energy. If you receive the invitation and you take it, you have that courage, do that North Node in Aries. That's it from me.
Yeah, I like that. It's good. I'm thinking it's my 8th house in the quadrant system. I don't even know how to use it. Like, I feel like I feel that the conjunction depends on so many other things, like my partner and other stuff. Like, what can I? I'm going to think about self. What you said, Fernanda. I think that is a good way for me to use something in that sense. But 8th house is such a. I even understand the 12th better than the 8th, to be honest. Like 12 for me, 8 is such a dependable house. I know it's so different. It's not, I like to be independent. So for me, the 8th house and everything that's happening there is like, I kind of depend on other people's resources, other people's this and that. Right? So.
Well, isn't your North Node in Libra?
Yes, it's my first house. Yes, 3 degrees. So I'm going to have my reversal just after this eclipse. Next October. Next year. Yeah, I'm doing. That's why I'm doing all these collaborations. I'm doing my North Node. I hope I'm doing it well.
You're doing really well.
You are. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because South Node in Aries, I want to be independent and do everything on my own, and it shows. It shows sometimes. Hannah, what are your last thoughts? What do you feel for 2024? Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and dreams. I hope that many of us can get inspired mentally. I hope that if you think about with Jupiter and Pluto doing their thing, with Aquarius and Gemini for a little bit, maybe this will usher in some sort of new hope regarding where we see ourselves, where belonging, the types of groups we want to be a part of. And then also with the Mercury retrogrades happening in fire signs, maybe this will further point toward a bit of inspiration in this way and creativity. It can be a very creative year for many people, especially those who have significant sort of placements in fire signs. But yeah, just look even to your fire houses, the houses ruled by Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, and kind of see what's going on in your chart, because that could be where, it is a good opportunity for you to reevaluate creativity, inspiration, independence, being a leader, these types of things I think will come up. And I think maybe this is some of the spark. It's a spark that maybe many of us are craving, especially coming out of 2023.
I love that. I'm just going to add, for me, there's definitely Jupiter in Gemini, not just because I'm a Gemini, it's going to affect me personally, but look at your Gemini house. I mean, I need this because Saturn is hitting me. I need this little Jupiter just to breathe a little bit better. Saturn is still there, I know, but just a little bit of breath of fresh air. Look at your Gemini house, wherever it is, and try to expand your mind in that area. Is it whatever it is? Is it when you learn something new or connect with somebody or expand, think about how you want to be seen in the world, or if it's in a sixth house, about your daily habits. Just, think, look, research, think big, try to see other point of view as well. Not just be stubborn in, the way we think. Go out there. Be open-minded. This is what Gemini is, trying to, finding, different ways to the same point at the end. Find different approach. Just, I think that's going to be, I'm looking forward, inspiring people to do that. And with what Hannah said, with all this fire, Mercury in fire going retrograde, you're going to have ability to revise things, the way you react, the way you do things, to find inner motivation. Where is it, and of course don't forget about Uranus and Taurus, Uranus and Jupiter conjunction. Before we leave, I want to encourage each one of you to use knowledge of other astrologers and book a reading for 2024, especially for these specific dates that I really, doesn't have to be me or us. Find the one who suits you, the one who you feel connected to. Also use always your discernment. Please, there's a bunch of stuff out there, but I would highly recommend that you get guidance to use, because Jupiter Uranus conjunctions happens now, and it's not going to happen in your in the Taurus energy in that sense. So use that. And yeah, we all three of us are available for readings as well. I know that. And what else is going on with the two of you? I know there's a bunch of stuff. So Fernanda, first you, what do you have to offer? Is that, I know you're doing readings, and but what else do you have? And you had a Chiron workshop recently.
I had a Chiron workshop recently that I experimented with the guided imagery. It was very interesting, and I definitely want to get more into that. Well, now I'm kind of looking forward to the holiday season just to try and rest a little bit. Like 3 planets in Virgo, and I can't stop doing things. But I'm definitely going to be giving talks next year, and there are all sorts of different things I'll be doing. So the best way to keep in touch is to see my YouTube channel, Hitchhiking Stars, or my website as well, fernandapaiva.co, so co. And then you can message me there as well, or Instagram, Hitchhiking Stars as well. Anywhere you prefer, you can find me there, and message me, and get into my email list as well, so you can be in the loop and know what we're going to be doing next year. There's going to be loads of things. Like, I don't really stop.
Yes, I know you're Virgo. You always like to do things. I know, and I love it. So yeah, I highly recommend Fernanda's YouTube. I always tune in and listen her forecasts. they're beautiful, and many. How do you say constructive astrology approach? That's what it is.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's all about building the life you want to live rather than fear mongering. That's like my approach. So if you like that, if you feel connected, please be part of the community. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, I highly recommend it. And I know Hannah has something special coming for next year. Please, Hannah, tell everybody, what are you preparing?
So I'm hoping to host a trip in 2024, but I need people to fill in a little survey because I need to know where you want to go, when you want to go. The feedback would be much appreciated. And also, I just want to say, Fernanda, I'm going to check out more of your stuff after this live as well. I'm really, really curious.
Nice.
So you can find me over at hannahselsewhere.com. Pretty much everything's over on my website, but there's also a Patreon there. So there's daily forecasts, and there's also PDF guides. So I try to make YouTube videos pretty regularly, but there's PDF guides that you can receive alongside. So instead of just getting video content, you'll also have, something to read and just a guide to go with it. But it's a good way for us to connect a little more if you want to keep update with more of my work. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, hannahselsewhere. So yeah, I look forward to connecting with you if you are interested.
Amazing. Yeah. Look at that. So everybody, thank you, Brianna, very much for nice words, and for Martin and everybody who joined today. I'm really thankful for each one of you who joined us and had questions. I'm also preparing a workshop on how to achieve elemental balance with astrology. So I have my first group is already full. I want to do a small group so I can do a more one-on-one, so I can, have advice for you in person. So I'm preparing another group as well. And yeah, you can find me Jasmina Brozovic Astrology. Everybody asks me, why do I use my full name? The fun fact, I always like to tell this story. There's a Brozovic asteroid on my ascendant. My life. So I'm like, what? If you go to this asteroid, there's a bunch of names there. You can usually their first names, but I found my last name, which is interesting. There was this lady in NASA who works in NASA. She shares my last name, which is not common, right? And I thought, you know what? So first time I got married, I took my first husband's name, and we got divorced after a year. So this time I left my name, and I'm using my name. It's doing me very well. To be honest. Nice. I don't know how it works, but check asteroids just for fun to see, people in your life, and anyway, where they hit. It's very interesting if you got dive in.
Nice.
I'm digressing, but it's an interesting thing. Yeah, Martin, sorry you missed most of it, but yes, please catch up on replay. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you too and your time, and everybody who was here. And I hope we're going to see each other in some other collaboration soon after New Year's.
Nice.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Bye, everybody.